Hey everybody, welcome back to another CineFix Roundtable. We've got everybody in the same room all at once to talk about all the things that happened this week, so let's get going. Does anybody give a shit about Power Rangers?
Nope.
Nope. I don't either. Let's skip it. Let's move. How about the Flintstones? They're remaking the Power Rangers, but none of us give a shit.
Well, they're on like remake's a weird thing, right? Because they're on season like 28. Like it's never
Is it still a show?
Yeah, it never stops.
Okay, I definitely don't want to talk about it.
It never stopped. So it's just that they're making a movie.
Michael True, Cruz is like, I don't give a shit, but I can still talk about it for half an hour.
No, it's just that's all the news is that they're making a movie instead of just the show.
Oh, they're not even gonna like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles it?
It's like Doctor Who. Every couple of seasons they replace all the Rangers.
Yeah, they're like Menudo.
They're like Menudo.
There's a big ranger fire and they have to get all
What's weird is I would probably rather watch a Menudo movie.
I would love that.
I'd rather eat some Menudo.
Ricky Martin as himself.
Just like aged down.
That sounds great.
Just CGI a younger version of his face onto his face.
So, moving on to other TV shows that are becoming movies that we potentially might also not give a shit about. The Flintstones. Will Ferrell and Adam McKay are going to be producing a Flintstones movie.
Disaster.
Really?
It's going to be animated though, so I don't think it's going to be the disaster.
Wait,
That's cool.
It's animated.
Yeah, because when I first read that, I was like, that is going to be garbage.
I thought
because
it was
they've done it twice and both times.
I thought it was going to be live action. I'm sorry.
Are they writing
Maybe
it?
not a disaster.
Mm-hmm. Chris Hinchy is writing it. Yeah. Who wrote Land of the Lost and The Campaign.
Land of the
Lost.
Oh.
He's one of the Gary Sanchez guys.
Yeah, when I read his previous credits, I was like, and that's not a good sound. Based on this guy's past, like there's a good chance he's going to make it very Gazoo-centric, which is not a good idea.
I love Gazoo.
Oh God, that was the worst.
Gazoo really opened up the series overall, because there they were stuck with just dinosaurs, and then Gazoo.
Gazoo was there jumping the shark moment.
Can we talk about? I have to admit, I don't really know who Gazoo is. Can we
the
explain that?
green alien?
Hello, dum dum. I didn't know. I just like.
The like vaguely effeminate green alien.
It's essentially Q from Star Trek.
Prehistoric times, and suddenly there's a literal green floating Marvel.
Yeah.
If they redo it to where Gazoo shows up and starts like building the pyramids or Stonehenge or like all the Mayan stuff, like that would be
like Stonehenge.
Maybe.
I love with old school animation.
those rats, dum-dum.
With old school animation, it's the same with TV, where you can just like track the drug use. You know, it's like one thing if somebody was out back smoking a doobie, but they're like, "Hey man, you ever try cocaine?" Cut to the next minute, you got a space alien on the Flintstones. You know,
With Ferrell and McKay, it's gonna be just crazy weirdness, right? Like,
Yeah.
But that's kind of why I think it's gonna be terrible. Look, I thought Anchorman 2 sucked. I was just joke after joke, and some of them.
Oh, we're so decadent. We have so many jokes. We don't need any more jokes.
No, but it was just.
we're living in a post-joke society.
It was just like
The
it's
neo-serious.
It's like people who eat French fries just so they, as a vehicle to put mayonnaise in their mouth. It was just like that's what it was. It wasn't a movie. It wasn't a movie.
Yeah.
It was a bunch of like skits about.
But if you want to argue about that, I don't think This Is the End is a real movie.
No, I don't think This Is the End is a real movie either. I just don't want to see a Flintstones movie where it's like a bunch of animated characters telling pointless jokes about like dicks and asses for 3 hours.
I'm not going to be able to get over your friend. I'm not going to be able to get over your French fries mayonnaise metaphor. That's just stuck in my head.
I mean, some people do that.
I think it is kind of interesting, though, that they decided to go the animated route, because when I first read the headline, I assumed it was going to be another live-action travesty like the John Goodman ones. So maybe they're afraid that even trying a live-action one is so tainted by those, they're hoping that they can have better luck doing an animated version.
Well, I think that it's a buddy story, and obviously the Flintstones relies on all the jokes about the technology. There's plenty of room for slapstick, which they do well. And I think the good thing about it is at least it's animated, so you can really do anything in that world.
No, this is something I didn't know either. That Seth MacFarlane is executive producing the Flintstones, But the TV show,
His new movie, that Million Ways to Die in the West or whatever, that just looks horrible.
The Red Band trailer looks pretty funny. It might be one of those movies where the 2.5 minutes of that trailer is the only funny part, but it looks pretty
I think a lot of teenagers will like it.
You calling me old? Are you calling me old, Johnny?
No, I won't even like it either. I'm 16.
Rides away on his skateboard. See you later, old dudes.
God, I hope you do that at the end of this round. Okay, well, so long as it's animated and so long as it's, well, no, that was it. That was the only redeeming thing that we came out of that, wasn't it? No hope for Flintstones.
I have hope because it's animated.
Why not?
It's a lot more flexible.
Yeah.
The gags will work more. I mean, Will Ferrell or any live person doing the gags, I just don't think it works.
Is this a statement on, like, have we lost faith in Will Ferrell?
Yeah.
At this point?
Yeah.
Will Ferrell and Adam
Long
McKay
time ago.
have outstayed their welcome?
It just feels in some ways like a retread of Land of the Lost, I think.
like other than Anchorman, I don't know if I ever really bought into that team.
Oh, man. Talladega Nights, brother.
Talladega Nights was I would go Anchorman, Talladega Nights,
Step Brothers.
You don't even put Step Brothers on that list. Shut up.
Do you want to turn his
mic
That's
off.
like my favorite.
Turn his mic off. I know, but based off that, I'm unsubscribing from this channel.
He just unsubscribed from his own shit.
It's been a couple weeks since we've had somebody up and leave around. That'll be good. Okay, let's move on. Other things that are not reboots, just returns. 24 came back. Right? Boop. Everybody watched 24? 24 came back last Monday. And the big 2-hour premiere event. What happened to TV between when 24 left and when it came back that I don't like 24 anymore?
I was really excited for 24 to come back, and then they did a really good job of capturing how 24 was when it was still on the air.
It was 24.
I think that's kind of the problem, is that like TV has sort of evolved past that point, and now I'm kind of like,
I really liked the premiere of 24, and I'm really excited for the rest of the season. I'm not going to go as far as to say it wasn't good. I thought it was good. But when Truly said the words, "It felt old," it really resonated. Like, it felt like I was watching reruns as opposed to I was watching a new show.
So when was the last season of 24? It was like 4 years ago? 5 years?
4 or 5 years ago.
5 years ago. I didn't watch the last 2 or 3 seasons, admittedly, of 24. So it's been like 6 or 7 years since I've actually watched 24. And like you said, it felt like it was 24. Like,
right.
it was exactly the way 24 used to be, and I didn't like it anymore. To me, it was 2 hours of people like refusing to listen to people. That's all it was.
It sounds like you gave up on it before it even ended the first time.
No, yeah, but I loved the first 5 seasons. Well, 4 of the first 5 seasons.
Right, but if you gave up on the last couple of seasons, what was going to bring you back in this one?
You know, it was awesome.
Do you feel like it was a missed opportunity to reinvent itself? Sounds
that's
like
a trick.
it. I never
I don't
watched.
know if it needed to reinvent itself at all. I think, but again, it's interesting that because of Game of Thrones and Mad Men and Breaking Bad and Walking Dead and House of Cards and all the and Homeland and all of these shows, TV has gotten really good over the past 7 or 8 years,
and very subtle.
Yeah, and then here comes 24 coming back like a bull in a china shop.
Well, that's a good point.
I don't really dig it anymore.
That's why I quit watching 24 pretty early on. When you're following this guy around this idea of Los Angeles, which is more like a video game, where everybody has some agenda, and there's a guy hanging out in a warehouse, and there's sheets of plastic hanging everywhere, and she's running through a maze of plastic.
TV's just a lot better than it used to be.
I agree. I agree with everything you're saying. I think 24 fills a different hole, right? And it was like what you were saying before about what you...
I hope the mic picked that up.
He does a low-hanging fruit.
I am a 14-year-old boy in my brain.
When we were talking like 2 months ago about how why we were excited about this, it's because like that kind of action, all up in your face, not subtle.
It's a big stupid action movie on
TV, and that's what you want out of it.
The opening sequence of the very first of the pilot was one of the best sequences, especially for opening sequence of any TV show ever. When she's on the airplane and she jumps out of the airplane, the plane explodes, she parachutes out. It was just like, I'm gonna watch this shit.
Yeah, it was great, and maybe that's part of it too, is that because it was so cool and because nothing like that had ever really been on TV before. It was so like new that it coming back, it's not new anymore. Like that charm is gone.
I also think that like the trailers that led up to it made it seem like it was going to be the most epic of any of the seasons that predated it. It showed like London on fire. And sure, maybe that's what they're building up to, but they started so small that you're like, I thought this was going to be the most epic. I also think that the whole sell was, we're going to do 12 hours instead of 24 hours, even though it's still called 24, which because it'll be better, it'll be easier to sustain the action.
Even at its best, that show, every third episode was
filler.
Like, yeah.
Filler.
Yeah.
I didn't dislike it, but I think if they hadn't shown essentially 2 hours and they had just shown one, I would have continued watching it.
I was just exhausted at the end of it because it was 2 hours of like, I'm trying to tell you something, and like, I'm going to arrest you though, and then that was it. And like nobody heard anybody speak, and it was like the most frustrating 2 hours I spent in front of a TV.
Put you on the curb, but there's a nuclear bomb gonna shut up you.
Well, and then the guy who gets blown up in Afghanistan, the drone pilot is trying to warn him. He's like, what? No, what?
Here's the other thing, which sadly is probably very close to what really happens.
Here's the thing, though. What's weird is, I think if all 12 hours, if it was Netflix and all 12 hours were up to watch at once, I would have watched all 12 of them.
Yeah.
I would have sat down and watched all 12 of them.
Well, yeah, because when stuff's like that, you'll usually get into like 3 or 4 episodes before you're like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'll finish it later. I think really, I think the thing we can all be excited about is President Heller as Ronald Reagan for the rest of the season.
The wrong Roosevelt? I'm losing my mind.
The bumbling old man president, I think, is going to be fun to watch.
I'm on board for the season.
I'm going to watch it because I'm an idiot. But
I still enjoyed it. Even there were things about it that didn't work for sure. 100% there were things
like Chloe's eye makeup.
What? Like anything that was going on with Chloe. Like everything that was going on with Chloe.
Yeah, the cat.
What the happened to Chloe?
But Jack is back, and is that enough?
For me, it is.
What do you guys think? We're not done yet. I'm not going to do the outro. We're just going to move on to something else. Shifting gears completely. There's no clean segue to go from 24 to Quentin Tarantino, but we've all been following this Quentin Tarantino Gawker thing for a long time.
Yeah, and if you guys missed it, Cruz here did a beat-by-beat rundown of when this all started and how this whole thing shook out, but now there's new news. So Tarantino, of course, sued Defamer / Gawker because they posted a link to the Hateful Eight, but he was holding them responsible for infringement. The judge threw out that lawsuit sometime last month in April because they're like, nah, they didn't infringe. If anything, they're like complicit in infringing.
That's most. It was a very short opinion.
Your Honor.
Yeah. So yeah.
Get out.
So the judge is like, nuh-uh, that's just, what was the term? Contributory infringement is what they use. So yeah, like they kind of were just in limbo until Quentin refiled, because even though the judge threw it out, he was just like, look, if you want to refile in a month, you can do it. You just have to kind of give me more juice.
Just go to your room, think about what you did, come back and talk.
Exactly. So Quentin did refile because he's being a big baby about this, even though he is profiting from it, and the whole argument hinges on his inability to profit. Meanwhile, he had that live reading where it was $200 a ticket. So you're already profiting even without making the movie. Anyway, so he did refile, and then less than a week after refiling, he withdrew his filing with the caveat that he reserves the right to file it again if he gets more evidence to kind of extrapolate how many people were able to download the script because of Gawker and hold them more accountable.
And what kind of precedent does it set? Is he going to like go make the movie, and if it has a bad opening weekend, then he's going to refile and say, see, no, I didn't make enough money, and it was your fault.
What I don't understand.
Well, but then again, like, this is what I was saying before. If that case actually went to court, like if he actually made the movie and then went back and said, and then it flopped for some reason, which I don't think it will because I went to that reading and that script is really good. But
so he's like sort of backing down but trying to take his pride with him. Is that what it feels
he's
like?
He's backing down but reserving the right to change his mind. It sounds like. I mean,
annoying.
It's just like Cruz was saying. He's been
annoying, man.
He's been having his scripts leaked for years. I mean, I remember reading Kill Bill like on one of the iMacs that came in a flavor. Like that's how long ago his scripts have been on the internet.
And you just said it's good too, and it's adding a lot of buzz for the movie. Like, what's he worried about?
But also, Gawker, I think, pointed out the right thing when they first sort of responded to him, which was being a big baby.
And by the way, Gawker didn't even have time to respond to the refiling because he withdrew it so quickly. Like they were just like, all right, we'll deal with this later. And he's just like, just kidding, take it back.
So when they responded the first time, they were like, we're a news organization, and we A, didn't leak it, and B, didn't turn it into a story. You got mad, you called a reporter, and you went off on the phone and explained everything that happened to a reporter who then turned it into a news story.
So essentially what you guys seem to be hinting at is that this is just like a piece of theater on Quentin Tarantino's part.
This might be just like the most elaborate PR stunt I've seen in recent history.
Because Gawker wins, he wins. I mean,
and he just keeps making it news over and over again. Like honestly, again, like the original story was that he gave the script to 6 people, and I quote, 6 people, and it got out. So like he needs to stop bitching about Gawker, and he needs to go after, I guess, the leaking 6.
Oh, the leaking 6.
That takes place in a nursing home.
I will hate on Gawker for a second though. Like they run a little piece just covering it, and then really clear like, oh, for the script, just click here. It's 1 click away, and everyone knows the sort of traffic Gawker gets.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, they are facilitating.
I mean, I don't think Gawker, obviously, they like benefited greatly from providing this link, but so what? It's the internet, you know? I mean...
It's sort of different rules now, and that's...
I also think different rules apply based on your precedent, right?
Exactly.
I think that, like, if you're J.J. Abrams, who's notorious for keeping everything in a locked vault of death under penalty of more death, then like Gawker leaks the script to Star Wars, and you have the precedent to be like, no, you're with my thing. When you have the precedent of supporting leaking and supporting like people finding your and supporting all of this stuff.
And reminding people that while you're bitching about the leak.
That it exists. That you can go download it and read it. And then if you haven't read it, I'm going to have a live reading you can pay to go see.
She's like, I love when people leak my stuff, but not this time.
At that point, you lose that right, I think.
At this point, I kind of hope that the movie never gets made. So that it can sort of be like, you remember when before Guns N' Roses did Chinese Democracy?
Oh, yeah.
And everybody was like, Chinese Democracy is the best album, but they haven't made it yet. It's gonna be amazing. And then they released it, and it was just Like, I kind of hope Hateful Eight becomes the movie version of Chinese Democracy before they actually made it.
I went and I saw this reading, and I was like, I want to see this movie. And I read it. And when I read it, not illegally, I was like, I want to see this movie.
Because we will call this one in.
That's the only way you read it legally.
Hello, Gawker? You'll never believe what this asshole just did.
I had before Gawker. No,
What was that?
hashtag.
Oh.
That was a hashtag?
I think so.
Didn't that be like you and sign language?
Oh, that's probably.
Yeah,
This is you.
That's also you, yes.
Like it's very active.
Very,
It takes a lot of work.
That's very 90s. I
My
don't
favorite
think people
is bullshit.
Is that what that is?
Yeah, it is. It's such a good one.
Is that the cow and the tail behind it?
No, it's the coming out of the And the one last thing that we do need to talk about, because we can't do a roundtable without at least mentioning Star Wars, but there's a working title for Star Wars that has come out this week, The Ancient Fear.
Oh, I heard it was Canned Heat.
No.
God, I'm so off. Who
Star
am I talking
Wars
to?
Canned Heat.
I think that describes Harrison Ford's reaction to David Blaine's magic trick.
He did look like an old
Devil man.
He was just an old man confused by magic. That's all he was there.
If you've never seen this, internet, we'll find a link for you and put it here.
Link to it like Gawker.
But you need to watch
David
it.
You can
Blaine's
watch
gonna
it
come
over
after us.
here.
David Blaine's gonna sue us for telling everybody he put a video.
Contributory infringement. Does The Ancient Fear, how does that line up with the other? I mean, the prequel titles felt really hokey. Because there's Phantom Menace, There's Attack the Clones. There's what was the third one? I already forgot.
Trade routes.
Trade routes. A study in trade routes. No, Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
Revenge of the Sith.
A New Hope. Empire Strikes Back. Return of the Jedi. The Ancient Fear.
I don't know what the ancient. I know nothing about the Star Wars universe. I don't know what the Ancient Fear is. My mind goes to like Voldemort or Sauron. Like those.
Wouldn't that be a fun trick if it's Star Wars Episode 7, The Revenge of Voldemort?
Revenge of Voldemort. It does make me curious, as someone who's seen Star Wars but isn't a crazy fanboy, to know what the Ancient Fear is. I start guessing. My mind is
It's
like,
spiders.
Is it the Emperor?
The Ancient Fear is
it Jar Jar Binks?
Please tell me there's a spider in that bathtub.
It would be great if it was like spiders versus the dark. Like, those are the two main villains in the next Star Wars movie.
Never-ending story. What is it? Never-ending story 2, which is the dark and like there was spider villains.
They need to bring that back.
Yeah, Flintstones. Bring Never-ending Story back.
Dog dragon, fluffy white dog. I wanted one
Falcor.
so bad. I wanted when I was a kid. You were like, that would make everything okay.
Everything will be fine
Everything.
if I just had a Falcor.
Yeah.
And Mommy and Daddy would both think it was cool, and they would share something, and then they wouldn't split up.
And then maybe they live in the same house
Mom and
again.
Dad, you can't stay together. I have a giant fluffy dog dragon.
He talks like this. Sorry, son. That's wonderful, but sorry, son. We're still splitting up.
His mother was dead.
I'm so glad we adequately covered the new Star Wars title. Wound up talking about Neverending Story, so that's as good a place to end it. Ironically enough, talking about the Neverending Story. How about that? Well, let us know what you guys think of all this stuff down in the comments below. Make sure to click like and subscribe, and come back next time for more movie news on CineFix Now, while we mumble and get up and leave.
Rebel, 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 rebel.
You can pretend we're
Nobody wants to leave. There's less excited mumble next time this week.